ionized into solution. They leave the oxygen with a negative charge, anionic clays. 93. Hydrogens of humus hydroxyl groups may also be ionized into solution, leaving, similarly tar clay, an oxygen with a negative charge. 94. Cations held to the negatively charged colloids resist being washed downward by water and are out or for each of plant roots, thereby preserving the soil fertility in areas of moderate rainfall and low temperatures. 95. 96. There is a hierarchy in the process of cation exchange on colloids, as cations differ in the strength of adsorption by the colloid and hence their ability to replace one another. Ion exchange. If present in equal amounts in the soil-water solution, L3 plus replaces H and replaces Ca2 plus replaces Mg2 plus replaces K and same as NH plus 4 replaces Na plus. 97. If one cation is added in large amounts, it may replace the others by the sheer force of its numbers. This is Gauss' law of mass action. This is largely what occurs with the addition of cationic fertilizers. Potash lime. 98. As the soil solution becomes more acidic, low pH, meaning an abundance of H+, the other cations more weakly bound to colloids are pushed into solution as hydrogen ions occupy exchange sites. Protonation. A low pH may cause the hydrogen of hydroxyl groups to be pulled into solution, leaving charged sites on the colloid available to be occupied by other cations. This ionization of hydroxy groups on the surface of soil colloids creates what is described as pH-dependent surface charges. 99. Unlike permanent charges developed by isomorphous substitution, pH-dependent charges are variable and increase with increasing pH. 100. Freed cations can be made available to plants but are also prone to be leached from the soil, possibly making the soil less fertile. 101. Plants are able to excrete H and into the soil through the synthesis of organic acids and by that means change the pH of the soil near the root and push cations off the colloids, thus making those available to the plant. 102. Cation exchange capacity, CEC. Cation exchange capacity is the soil's ability to remove cations from the soil-water solution and sequester those to be exchanged later as the plant roots release hydrogen ions to the solution. 103. CEC is the amount of exchangeable hydrogen cation, H+, that will combine with 100 grams dry weight of soil and whose measure is 1 milliequivalents per 100 grams of soil. 1 mech/100 G. Hydrogen ions have a single charge and 1,000th of a gram of hydrogen ions per 100 grams dry soil gives a measure of 1 ml equivalent of hydrogen ion. Calcium, with an atomic weight 40 times that of hydrogen and with a valence of 2, converts to 40 divided by 2. 1 milliequivalent equals 20 milliequivalents of hydrogen ion per 100 grams of dry soil or 20 mech/100 G. 104. The modern measure of CEC is expressed as centimoles of positive charge per kilogram, cmol/kilogram, of oven dry soil. Most of the soil's CEC occurs on clay and humus colloids, and the lack of those in hot, humid, wet climates, such as tropical rainforests, due to leaching and decomposition, respectively, explains the apparent sterility of tropical soils. 105. Live plant roots also have some CEC, linked to their specific surface area. 106. Cation exchange capacity for soils, soil textures, soil colloids. 107. Soil state SecMec/100G Charlotte Fine Sand Florida 1.0 Ruston Fine Sandy Loam Texas 1.9 Gloucester Loam New Jersey 11.9 Grundy Silt Loam Illinois 26.3 Gleason Clay Loam California 31.6 Susquehanna Clay Loam Alabama 34.3 Davy Mucky Fine Sand Florida 100.8 Sands 1.5 Fine Sandy Loams 5.10 Loams and Silt Loams 5.15 Clay Loams 15.30 Clays over 30 Sisquia Oxides 0.3 Calminate 3.15 Elite 25.40 Montmorillonite 6.100 Vermiculite, similar to Elite 81.50 Humus 100 300 Anion Exchange Capacity, AEC. Anion exchange capacity is the soil's ability to remove anions, such as nitrate, phosphate, from the soil-water solution and sequester those for later exchange as the plant roots release carbonate anions to the soil-water solution. 108. Those colloids which have low CEC tend to have some AEC. Amorphous and sisquia oxide clays have the highest AEC, 109, followed by the iron oxides. 110. Levels of AEC are much lower than for CEC, because of the generally higher rate of positively versus negatively charged surfaces in soil colloids, to the exception of variable charge soils. 111. Phosphates tend to be held at anion exchange E6. 112. Iron and aluminum hydroxide clays are able to exchange their hydroxide anions, O, for athranions. 108. The order reflecting the strength of anion adhesion is as follows: H2PO4 replaces SO2, 4 replaces NO3 replaces Cl. The amount of exchangeable anions is of a magnitude of tenths to a few milliequivalents per 100 g dry soil. 107. As pH rises, there are relatively more hydroxyls, which will displace anions from the colloids and force them into solution and out of storage. Hence AEC decreases with increasing pH, alkalinity. 113. Reactivity, pH. Soil reactivity is expressed in terms of pH and is a measure of the acidity or alkalinity of the soil. More precisely, it is a measure of hydronium concentration in an aqueous solution and ranges in values from 0 to 14, acidic to basic. But practically speaking for soils, pH ranges from 3.5 to 9.5, as pH values beyond those extremes are toxic to life forms. 114. At 25 degrees Celsius, an aqueous solution that has a pH of 3.5 has 10.3.5 moles H3O+, hydronium ions, per liter of solution, and also 10.5 moles per liter O. A pH of 7, defined as neutral, has 10.7 moles of hydronium ions per liter of solution and also 10.7 moles of O per liter. Since the two concentrations are equal, they are said to neutralize each other. A pH of 9.5 has 10.9.5 moles hydronium ions per liter of solution, and also 10.2.5 moles per liter O. A pH of 3.5 has 1 million times more hydronium ions per liter than a solution with pH of 9.5. 9.5 3.5 equals 6 or 106, and is more acidic. 115. The effect of pH on a soil is to remove from the soil or to make available certain ions. Soils with high acidity tend to have toxic amounts of aluminium and manganese. 116. As a result of a trade-off between toxicity and requirement, most nutrients are better available to plants at moderate pH. 117. Although most minerals are more soluble in acid soils, soil organisms are hindered by high acidity, and most agricultural crops do best with mineral soils of pH 6.5 and organic soils of pH 5.5. 118. Given that at low pH toxic metals, for example cadmium, zinc, lead, are positively charged as cations and organic pollutants are in non-ionic form, thus both made more available to organisms. 119. 120. It has been suggested that plants, animals and microbes commonly living in acid soils are pre-adapted to every kind of pollution, whether of natural or human origin. 121. In high rainfall areas, soils tend to acidify as the basic cations are forced off the soil colloids by the mass action of hydronium ions from usual or unusual rain acidity against those attached to the colloids. High rainfall rates can then wash the nutrients out, leaving the soil inhabited only by those organisms which are particularly efficient to uptake nutrients in very acid conditions, like in tropical rainforests. 122. Once the colloids are saturated with H3O+, the addition of any more hydronium ions or aluminum hydroxyl cations drives the pH even lower, more acidic, as the soil has been left with no buffering capacity. 123. In areas of extreme rainfall and high temperatures, the clay and humus may be washed out, further reducing the buffering capacity of the soil. 124. In low rainfall areas, unleached calcium pushes pH to 8.5, and with the addition of exchangeable sodium, soils may reach pH 10. 125. Beyond a pH of 9, plant growth is reduced. 126. High pH results in low micronutrient mobility, but water-soluble chelates of those nutrients can correct the deficit. 127. Sodium can be reduced by the addition of gypsum, calcium sulfate, as calcium adheres to clay more tightly than does sodium, causing sodium to be pushed into the soil water solution where it can be washed out by an abundance of water. 128. 129. Base saturation percentage. There are acid-forming cations, for example hydronium, aluminium, iron, and there are base-forming cations, E.G. calcium, magnesium, sodium. The fraction of the negatively charged soil colloid exchange sites, CEC, that are occupied by base-forming cations is called base saturation. If a soil has a CEC of 20 mec and 5 mec are aluminium and hydronium cations, acid-forming, the remainder of positions on the colloids, 25 equals 15 mec, are assumed occupied by base-forming cations, so that the base saturation is 15 divided by 20. 100% equals 75%. The complement 25% is assumed acid-forming cations. Base saturation is almost in direct proportion to pH. It increases with increasing pH. 130. It is of use in calculating the amount of lime needed to neutralize an acid soil. Lime requirement. The amount of lime needed to neutralize a soil must take account of the amount of acid-forming ions on the colloids, exchangeable acidity, not just those in the soil water solution, free acidity. 131. The addition of enough lime to neutralize the soil water solution will be insufficient to change the pH, as the acid-forming cations stored on the soil colloids will tend to restore the original pH condition as they are pushed off those colloids by the calcium of the added lime. 132. Buffering. The resistance of soil to change in pH, as a result of the addition of acid or basic material, is a measure of buffering capacity of the soil and, for a particular soil type, increases as the CEC increases. Hence, pure sand has almost no buffering ability. Those soils high in colloids, whether mineral or organic, have high buffering capacity. 133. Buffering occurs by cation exchange and neutralization. However, colloids are not only regulators of soil pH. The role of carbonates should be underlined. 134. More generally, according to pH levels, several buffer systems take precedence over each other. from calcium carbonate buffer range to iron buffer range. 135. The addition of a small amount of highly basic aqueous ammonia to a soil will cause the ammonium to displace hydronium ions from the colloids, and the end product is water and colloidally fixed ammonium, but little permanent change overall in soil pH. The addition of a small amount of lime, CaO2, will displace hydronium ions from the soil colloids, causing the fixation of calcium to colloids and the evolution of CO2 and water, with little permanent change in soil pH. The above are examples of the buffering of soil pH. The general principle is that an increase in a particular cation in the soil water solution will cause that cation to be fixed to colloids, buffered, and a decrease in solution of that cation will cause it to be withdrawn from the colloid and moved into solution, buffered. The degree of buffering is often related to the CEC of the soil. The greater the CEC,